That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about episode 5 of The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, which will be available to stream on Amazon August 18th, 2023. The title of this episode is Desert Oak, which means resurrection.
It's been several weeks since we watched episode 4, which is part of the reason why reviewing series is difficult, because we can't usually watch all of them back to back. But it was nice revisiting an old friend.
Yep.
I will say this was...
Her name is Sigourney.
Oh, Sigourney. I will say this is the most uneventful episode thus far.
Yes. As I've said before, I like where this filmed adaptation is going compared to how the book was written. And Sigourney's character, June, is a little beyond her shelf life from where she was in the book already. So I'm curious to see how they're weaving all of this together. I guess pun intended there, huh? But this does feel like a filler episode, because we're kind of now getting used to characters that were barely introduced in the last episode.
So Alice had left the house and she met a guy whose name is Dylan. So we find out that Dylan has helped her get a job as like a park ranger. So she's working for this area protecting like the plantation, not plantation, the plants, flowers.
Yes, it's a...
Plantation, not the plantation. But, so she has that job.
Yeah, it's a historical site, tourist attraction.
From the last episode, we know Twig is mad at Sigourney. So Twig has left the house to go find Alice, but she makes a pit stop to go visit Charlie, Alice's brother, who she thought was dead, but is a whole-ass teenager. We also knew that Sigourney had cancer, so we see her at the hospital refusing treatment. Then...
But lies to her people back on the flower farm that she's okay, so they're all relieved, except for Candy Blue, who knows better and talks to the doctors.
And then we find out more about Candy Blue, because we got the sense from previous episodes that... what is the name of the son?
Clem.
Clem. That Clem had an inappropriate relationship, perhaps, with Candy, but it's made very clear in episode 5 that he had a sexual relationship with her.
When she was 13.
When she was 13, and he was clearly older, and that his mom, Sigourney, kicked him out. But not really, because it's around that time when her daughter, or what's Alice's mom's name?
Agnes.
When Agnes shows up. And I was very confused by this, because Clem is packing his bags to leave, but when Agnes shows up, Sigourney goes, Clem, help her with her bags.
I think she thought that Agnes was age appropriate, and because Candy has a confrontation. This is kind of a reconciliation episode between these two characters, because Candy had been sent away because of the inappropriate sexual liaison with Clem, and June explains it as it was meant to protect you, and I encouraged his relationship with the age-appropriate Agnes, who she says was ready for that kind of love.
Right. I remember that because Candy confronts Sigourney saying, you never looked at me. All these years since that happened, you don't even look at me in the eyes. And Sigourney basically slut-shames her. But then she comes back and apologizes and says what you just said, that she was trying to protect her. That felt very flimsy, because she had already kicked the boy out. And he was on his way out. But instead she lets him stay, and then her plan is to pair him with a vulnerable woman who's age appropriate. That feels real weird to me. No?
It does. I don't know if there are going to be more details about that, because that clearly backfired.
Yeah.
But June is very cold and matter of fact, and she because as we all know, Clem likes to make those little wooden sculptures. She's all ready to throw out the shit that she gave him, and then Agnes comes oh, that's pretty, and she's like, here.
So Alice is now working as this ranger, and she has co-workers, another woman, and then Dylan works there, and then another guy.
Lulu she's befriended, played by Vivian Awasoga.
Lulu's she's a little fast, because the two guys who work, Dylan and the other guy, they're very attractive, and she's trying to push up on Dylan, and Dylan does not like her. But then we find out later it's because they had a little tryst. Mm-hmm. So
which now that you know about their past relationship, because she says it's old history to Alice, I'll be curious to see what you think of Lulu after Dylan unveils some more behavior.
Ooh, okay, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Then we get a moment because Dylan invites Alice to go look at like some canyon and look at fireflies, and then she says, "Oh, did you ever bring Lulu here?" And his reaction's pretty violent. Mm-hmm. I thought, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like he was overreacting. She's just asking a question.
It was OTT, as we like to say here.
Yeah, so is that part of what's going to be revealed? Mm-hmm. Oh, so I can predict what's going to happen.
But he leaves her alone for hours and, has driven her there. So she is stuck. And then he comes back and asks for some food, and then he tries to make up for it. And he's like, well, now you've seen that, the worst side of me.
When Twig is with Charlie at his mom's house, Sally's house, Sally hints at like the police report and tells Twig, well, you read the police report. And Twig's like, no, Sigourney didn't read it. Alice didn't read it. I didn't read it. And Sally's like, what? You didn't read it? And I think they don't tell us what's in the police report. However, Alice and Dylan are having a moment, and he's asking her to be vulnerable and reveal something about her past. And she says, well, basically, I killed my family because I burned our house down. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming what's in the police report is that Alice is not responsible for that fire.
There will be something contradictory, I believe, in the police report when it's finally revealed. Also, Asher Keddie as Sally. When Twig shows up and reveals all that everybody thought Charlie was dead, etc., Sally is she's grabbing her pearls, which I found that I didn't like that because everything about her reaction is like, who you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Sigourney's difficult, June. And then, she's like clutching her pearls like, oh, I can't believe she never told, like, okay. She gave you this baby to raise in isolation. I mean, what did you think was going on? But
at the end of this episode, Dylan gives Alice like a promise bracelet, which seems very fast. Mm-hmm. So again, I can predict what's going to happen.
Oh, he is a red flag factory. The thing I like most about this episode, besides the fact that June is still alive, so I will continue to want to watch it, is that I'd totally forgotten about the band The Hives and that song "Hate to Say I Told You So."
Well, there you go.
And there was.
Well, I'm looking forward to episode 6.
And 7, and then there we are.
Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.